Siargao. Everyone talks about Siargao. This is easily the most trending destination in Philippines, and soon you're going to understand why. But to you guys that don't know us, we are Chris and Mia, and for the last 7 months we've been traveling to more than 30 exotic destinations. So if you're looking for your next vacation or want to know more about how life is as a digital nomad, or maybe you just want to see how the world looks like in 2024, don't forget to hit that subscribe button right here. And by the way, you have to watch this video to the end, because not only am I going to give you everything you need to know, but I'm also going to address the elephant in the room, the things nobody else wants to talk about. So when you're ready, let's go out and discover. When you're going to Siargao, you're most likely going to get there with planes. Another way to get here is by ferry from Cebu, but I'm just going to speak about the airport. So you're going to fly in a really small plane between two mountains. It looks really pretty, and you're going to arrive in a really small airport made from maybe 2 small planes. So when you're coming out of the airport, there's going to be some shuttle buses to take you to a place. They're going to charge you 400 pesos per person to get you there. So even though this island is really big, you're going to find out there's only one area you're going to stay in, and that is... So you can pretty much put General Luna into 4 different parts. There is the city, the things the locals call from GL. Then there's Cloud9, Santa Fe, and Milano. I didn't stay in Milano, so I'm not really going to speak about that. So let's start with the most crowded area, which is GL. Here is many restaurants, bars, hotels, and stays. This is the party area, and it's probably where most of you guys is going to stay. So when you're getting there, you have to try Cubata. Cubata is a super nice restaurant that I found out is probably the cheapest place on the islands to eat. So when you're staying there, remember to eat at Cubata. You're going to love it. So the next area I want to speak about is Cloud9. And Cloud9 is the surfing area. It's way more laid back, but still with a lot of options when it comes to hotels, bars, and restaurants, etc. When you're getting to Cloud9, I highly recommend that you're going to try Pizza X. This is the best pizza that I've been tasting in the whole Asia. I know it's a big statement, but I dare to make it. So try it out, see if you like it, and let me hear in the comments. The next place is Santa Fe. So before 2021, Santa Fe was over 45 minutes away from GL. But in 2021, they built the Sunset Bridge, which became a giant hit that I'm going to speak about later in this video. But now Santa Fe is only 10 minutes away from GL. So because of that, you're seeing a lot of constructions happening. There's probably going to be one of the new upcoming areas. But right now, it's so chill, it's so laid back. There's not really a lot of restaurants. You see many of the long-term stayers is like settling down there, which is really cool. It gives you so many nice experiences that we're going to speak about later in this video. If you look at Siargao on a map, you see there's so many things to do in Siargao. It's like crazy. So I'm going to give you my top 5 of day attractions that you can do here in Siargao. Starting with Magpopunko. I think people just call it White Beach because Magpopunko is so hard to pronounce. But it's actually a bit misleading, because White Beach has nothing to do with a white beach. It has to do with this place here. People telling us to get there at low tide, because as low tide is actually more prettiest. But even though it's high tide, the pool looks amazing. So now there's only one thing left to do, and that is to jump in. So let's go. The next thing I think that you really need to do is to rent a boat and go out for a surf, because Siargao have the most easygoing waves I've been ever surfing in my entire life. And it's just so cool. But the thing with Siargao is that most of the really good waves you can only access by boat. So you have to rent a boat, sail out there with him the whole day, surf on those cool waves. And if you want a cheap tricks to how to get a cheap boat, I have been talking about that in my other video, and I'm going to put the link right up here so you can click on it if that's something you want to talk about. I don't want to go into details in this video about it because I did that in that video. So let's just talk about the next thing. In Siargao is one of the only places in the world where you're able to swim with the bugs jellyfish. And what's so cool about the box jellyfish? First of all, the way the jellyfish looks like is so fascinating. It looks so awesome. And second of all, it's stingless, so you can like play with it, you can touch it, you can throw with it. Don't throw with it. That's mean. But it's so cool. 2 hour sails away from Siargao is the sanctuary, where you can go down and swim with hundreds of those jellyfish. And we didn't do that because we actually got the experience to actually meet those jellyfish out in the nature, out in the wild. And it was totally random. We was on another day trip that I'm also going to mention that later in this video. And we were swimming into the jellyfish, and suddenly there was just like dozens of jellyfish around us. It was so cool. And for me, meeting the animals out of the nature is so much of a better experience than seeing it in a zoo or in a secure area, if you know what I mean. So that was so much good for me. So after that experience, we didn't feel the need to go to the sanctuary because we actually got our experience with the jellyfish in the nature. Did you know that Philippines have more than 7,500 islands, and even last year they still found more than 10 new islands in Philippines? Isn't that crazy to think about? We're in 2024 and they still discovering new islands. So one thing I really think that you should do when you come to Philippines or Siargao, like we're speaking about in this video, is to do some island hopping. So one of the most famous islands to visit is Guam Island and Naked Island, and you can go down to the harbor. You can take a boatman to sail you out there. It's going to cost you about $36, or you can visit some of the other islands as we did. So we hang a lot out with the locals, which gives us a lot of cool opportunities to go see things that you're normally not seeing when you're a tourist, because you kind of just walking the way all the other tourists are walking. But because of this, we was able to visit some other islands. I don't know the names of those because they're not really that famous, but it was really cool, really chill. And if you're looking a little bit to the west side of Siargao, there's an island called Siargao. And Siargao is an island I didn't go to, but everyone that I've been meeting that's been going there says that it's one of the most prettiest sign. It's also called Blue Lagoon, so you can search on Blue Lagoon to see more about that. But that should also be a really cool experience to do so. Another day activity that you can do is drive around the island on a scooter and see so many cool things. We have the palm tree lookout points where it's just palm trees as far as the eye can reach. I love palm trees myself, so seeing all those palm trees out there in the nature was a really cool experience for me. Then you can go to the jungle swing, but it's also a little bit misleading because they actually don't have the swing anymore. They changed it out to a 2 steps platform, so it's like a 3 meters and a 5 meters platform that you can jump from down into the oceans. There you can also rent a kayak that's going to take you a little bit down the river. When you're driving around on the island, you also have to visit Siargao Cave Pool. It's like a cave that you are walking through, ending up also with like a platform where you can jump into the oceans. But there they also have some swings, and it was just a lot of fun to swim in that little mountain cave. So it was really something I highly recommend doing. General in Siargao, there is a lot of cool caves. I didn't get to experience all of them, but I think all of them is just as cool as this one here.
Yeah, babe. Now you're careful, okay?
Yeah, of course.
Not hold that one. You're
It's
not
okay.
gonna hold that one.
Magpapungo or White Beach is also a place you have to visit when you're driving around on the islands on the scooter. And for you guys that is a little bit nervous about renting a scooter down here in Asia, I just want to say that all the ways is in a pretty good conditions. It's really easy to drive there. There's not a lot of traffic. It's really chill. The helmets is not really so good. Most people are not driving with the helmets, but there is actually police out there that's going to give you a fine. I didn't use helmet at all. We didn't get any fine either. Yeah, that's just what I wanted to say about it. When you have been driving around on the scooter for the whole day and it's about to get sunset, the place everyone is meeting up to sunset is at the Sunset Bridge. Remember, I talked about that earlier. So now are we at the Sunset Bridge, Margaret?
Yeah, and this is the place where everyone is kind of meeting up when it's the sunset. And they put a lot of booths out here with different foods, and it's just a social vibe here, kind of. Check it out.
I think I have been mentioning five, but I would really love to mention one more because in Siargao I did an activity I never heard about before, and it turned out to be one of the best days we actually had in Siargao. So that activity is called subwing. And what is subwing actually? So subwing is a board that you're holding in your hands that is with a rope tied to a boat, so you're kind of being dragged after the boat. But you can like go like down and up with the board, so you can kind of swim in the ocean like a dolphin, going down under the water, going up, get some air, and then down again. And it's just really cool. So you are being dragged after the boat on top of this coral reef where you see all the corals, all the fish. That was where we saw the jellyfish. We also saw a turtle. We saw a lot of cool animals down there. General snorkeling in Philippines is so amazing. Like the life on the bottom of the ocean is so cool. It's not like they specific have a nice coral reef because like 10 to 20 years ago there was like doing dynamite fishing, so they kind of ending up destroying most of the coral reef there was in Siargao. But either way, you're still able to find the coral reef and it looks amazing. So if you have the opportunity to go do some subwing in Siargao, definitely do it. It's one of my best days. I can highly recommend it. So when we first arrived in Philippines, we were starting in Manila. And that was because I wanted to go up to the Buscaland to meet the famous Abo Van Art. And if you don't know who Abo Van Art is, you really need to check out this video here because she is such a cool old lady. But anyway, in Manila, we stayed in Manila for a week and it was raining every day. So we actually came to Philippines in rain season, even though everyone told us not to go to Philippines in the rain season because the rain can get kind of bad. And that way we found out that Siargao actually is a little bit different from the rest of Philippines because they have different rain seasons starting later in the year. Did we experience rain? Yeah, a little bit. It was raining some days, but most of the days was actually full with sunshine, 35 degrees Celsius. It was like burning up. It was so awesome. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I think that's where Siargao is like standing out for the rest of Philippines. I want to speak a little bit about local insight because the best way to get locals insight is from the locals themselves. And I'm saying this because Philippines are so open, they are so direct, they are such a cool people that are living in Philippines. And on top of that, it's one of the countries in Asia that speaks the best English. So because of this mix here, you have the opportunity to actually speak and hang out with the locals. For me, going down there, actually meeting the culture in a way where you actually are able to speak fully with the locals, it's so amazing. So we've been grilling fish on a destroyed roof where we was like grilling the fish. They've just been out in the ocean catching for us so we can eat them at the beach. They've been teaching me how to climb up in the palm trees to get coconuts so I can drink my coconuts straight from the coconut tree. It's probably the most freshest coconuts I'm ever going to taste is the ones I've been getting in Siargao. So if you come to Philippines and you want a little bit out of the normal trips that everyone else is like kind of doing, this is the place to hang out with the locals because it's going to give you so many cool experiences. And honestly, it's really not harder than just yelling at a guy when you're driving past on the scooter. For example, we was seeing a guy singing karaoke and all I did was I kind of yelled to him, "Can we join?" And after that, we found ourselves singing karaoke with him and his friends and his daughter for 3 hours or something like that. We was drinking beers with them and we was just having a really great evening. It was really not more than me just yelling if we could join. Like that's how easy it is to make friends with the locals down there. When you are in Siargao, the prices is a little bit weird, okay? I wouldn't say Siargao is directly cheap. It's not like it's expensive, but it's not like cheap when you're thinking about how cheap things can be in Asia. So every time we was going out and eating, and this is a really fun part because it didn't matter if we was going into a nice looking restaurant or a cheap looking restaurant. We was ending up paying 1,000 pesos for two persons, so 500 pesos per person. And that in itself is not a lot of money, but when all your meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner is 500 pesos, it's kind of like putting a little bit on your budget if you are traveling on a budget. I couldn't really find a place that was cheaper than this, not in the areas where the tourists was living, when you was getting a little bit out of the areas. For example, in Manila I couldn't find it, in Buscalan I could find it. At the small towns in Siargao I was able to find it, but in the tourist areas you kind of ending up paying 1,000 pesos no matter where you eat. And that has a good side as well, because that means you can go into the restaurants you actually want to eat without thinking about, oh my god, this thing is going to be expensive, because it's not just going to spend 1,000 pesos. So there's a good thing about it and there's a bad thing about it. The other bad thing about it is the accommodation. Now when we speak about the accommodation, I need to address the elephant in the room, because even though Siargao is a paradise for many, I wouldn't say Siargao is right now built for everyone. So when we talk about accommodation, for example, it's starting from $30, but the value you're getting from $30 is quite low compared to other places in Southeast Asia. The whole island experienced frequencies, power outs, which means that some places that we stayed at, we actually didn't have electricity for up to 5 hours a day, which is quite a lot of time when you think about, because there's no Wi-Fi, there's no aircon, there's no electricity, and if that place, like this place here, don't have any phone service, you are completely dead for multiple hours at the day. If you want to know if Siargao is for you, you should check out my other video about my first impressions I got from Siargao, where I'm going to address all those problems there is about this island, so you can find out if Siargao is for you.